Sharif, we are coming up on time. I just wanted to respect your time. Is there anything in this conversation? I could keep going for hours, but I'm trying to keep this under an hour. Is there anything, any loose ends that you feel haven't been said in this conversation that need to be said before we wrap up?
Maybe sort of like designers side hustles or like design leading companies and the potential or the positives of that kind of a thing.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great way to wrap up because as soon as I saw Brian Chesky explain his operating model that's led to a huge cash flow positive business,
Yeah.
and it breaks a lot of the conventions. He just chose to design his own business model, like his own business operations. I'm going to choose how Airbnb operates. I'm going to use my designer hat and organize the business around the problem, the cause we're trying to solve. Brian Chesky's probably the closest thing to Steve Jobs since Steve Jobs, in my opinion.
Right.
Right. And when I saw that, I'm like, oh, I don't have to believe anything that I don't agree with. It's like the designing of the business, and who's better equipped to do that than someone that understands design thinking and like abstracting problems. I mean, I would say like the best companies that we have today they were former engineers or designers. Who's the richest guy in Great Britain? It's James Dyson. Everyone talks about Richard Branson. James Dyson, a product designer, is the richest guy in Britain. And yeah, like that's the way I see it is, oh yeah, the design of business is like the next frontier. And I think that's why product designers are going to be like the next business leaders, because we're starting to learn, yeah, this book said that, but I don't feel like that applies with what we're trying to do in this business.
I love that. And it's a great example of that is you talked about Columbus, people talk about Tesla and the innovator, and this, like, he was fighting Edison. The truth, like, the reason Edison is so famous is because he was a brilliant sort of marketer and business designer. Like he was just like everything were sound bites, marketing, his ideas, and he was competing. So like I think designers, for better or worse, like it's not the best technology or the best thing that wins. It's the best. It's how well does this sort of like message meet and like the product meet the needs of that day. And he was able to win out. And so the more you can have designers in leadership and the more you can have, I think it has two really important positives.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, designers typically are not great at business, and replace the word business with sustainability. Is this going to be around? Can you make sales? Can you run a company that actually hires people and does stuff for an extended period of time? So sustainability is a better word than business, right? So designers are not that good because they take big risks and they sort of like value research and development and like refinement and this art science balance. And the rubber's not hitting the road in important ways. And so by having designers at that level, you force them to make those considerations. Like you said, Brian Chesky is a great example where he applied his design sort of onto sort of the business structure of an organization, of a highly successful, scalable, robust, dynamic organization that was able to get a 50 to 60% hit, if not more, during COVID and still have a thriving business. And then like years later, actually be much better off, right? It's like, how do you design an organization that's resilient enough to take on risks like that? And how do you create an organization where you leverage sort of storytelling in your product design process in a way where meetings are like easily understandable, engageable, and dynamic, and like you follow sort of like a user's journey, and you're able to sort of much more dynamically collaborate on all levels of the product, right? It's a technology first company that you're not just sort of like productizing or digitizing some old thing, but that it's like from the ground up, it's built that way, and it's built really well. And it's designed, I think, because it's designed by a designer. And so designers get this business point of view. And so that's a really important thing for designers. And then you get the benefits of that product sort of orientation. And the problem with big companies, especially monopolies, which pretty much most of the tech companies are some form of a monopoly, whether it's Google and search. And look, company is a monopoly when they're telling you they're not a monopoly. They just go a category up. If
Yeah,
they're a
they abstract
search
it.
ad company, they say, oh no, we're a technology company because we make like hardware and we do this and that. It's okay. And if a company's saying we are a monopoly, it's usually a sign they're not a monopoly at all. And so everyone's trying to pretend to be something that they're not. Obviously, it's a bad look. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I love the example they brought up of Edison and Tesla, right? Nikola Tesla. We're talking about the person that inspired Elon's company is a great example of, okay, who do you feel should be rich? It's not merit. It's who owns the thing. If you have equity in something and it becomes valuable, that's how you get rich. And so Edison chose to work on the business. Tesla worked in the business.
That's right.
And so when you work in the business, you're on payroll. And so you can get very comfortably wealthy doing that. Doing what Tesla did, where you just work for Netflix for a few years and make $500K a year. And you just, and honestly, to comfortably retire, you just need $4 million net worth. That's the number. That's it. That's all you need. That's enough. That's what enough looks like. And you could do that by working in the business.
It's like simple investing. Yeah. Long term. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you want to be like, have the complete flexibility to like live life to your interests, it's like the easiest path is to work on a business, not in it.
Yeah.
And that's what Edison did. He built the business and he hired the right people, and he deserves to cash out. So even if he was an asshole, it's like, that's the way it is. Yeah. Yeah, it worked. And Brian,
have you read the E-Myth? It's exactly that. It's people
I'm a great doctor. Therefore, I could do my own doctor practice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Big example in the book is you like baking. And so you open a little cupcake shop and then you lose the love of making cupcakes and your business fails. And it's because you're trying to do the thing, or you're trying to fire your boss, as opposed to actually like running something is so much more responsibility, but you need to create systems. Like you need to get yourself out of those tasks and jobs. So if you love that job, like you're passionate about some specific job, starting a business is not the way.
Yeah. Yeah.